Welcome to The Wake Up. On today's show, my name is Spencer Walsh. We're going to be talking about a purge. It's happening in the Department of Homeland Security. We'll talk about also today's parliamentary elections in Israel. Big news on that country. The N.C.A.A. men's basketball championship was also decided last night. We're going to be talking about that as well. Dabble in a little sports. How about that? Yeah, fun stuff coming as well. So, yeah, Donald Trump, he removed Monday recently to clear out the top ranks of the Department of Homeland Security a day after his resignation of its secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen. So there is some real change coming, which is kind of shocking for a lot. I guess a lot of people in Homeland Security kind of makes things a little bit more chaotic, I would have to say. The White House announced the departure of the director of the Secret Service, Randolph Alls, and other more high-ranking officials are expected to leave soon. So the move really reflected the president's frustration about immigration and security, and appeared to be house cleaning of officials associated with John Kelly, the former White House chief of staff, who was also Trump's first Homeland Security secretary. So he wanted pretty much all John Kelly associated people out. What's next from here is, though, that Trump's probably going to push for tougher immigration policies, including a possible return of a measure that separated migrant families, current and former officials said. And Trump may not be telling the truth or viewing the situation properly, as he, in clamping down on migrants, Trump has said the country is full. Demographers and economists disagree here, according to the New York Times. So that's interesting. So that's really eye-catching here, as he's going to go possibly coming in even tougher position. So that could even mean a return to separation of families. So yeah, Trump shook up the ranks of the top immigration officials after spending months demanding that they take tougher action to stop the surge of migrant families at the border, and seething about what he said considered their overly legalistic refusals to do so. Yeah, and I mean, I think we all know, you separated them from took their children away from them, lost them their children. I think pretty much everyone from Calexico to Guatemala knows if you're going to go across the U.S. border, you're going to experience a hellish time. I think everybody knows that, whether it's the heat on the way, the dangerousness of the desert, or some of the toughest parts, like the U.S. government, when they actually come and get you and they're take away, separate you from their families. They'll knock away your food. How about, this is just a theory, we stop the push factor, whatever it's called, the thing that's pushing them away from their homes, which is stability and gang violence in that country. I mean, maybe just a thought, and maybe we examine our own role on how us causing for decades upon decades disability, or instability, and just bad things in this country, in countries like Guatemala, countries like Honduras, countries that all these people are coming from now. That is an incredible, it's an incredible factor that no one seems to be talking about. The fact that our actions over the years have played some major role in the crisis that we see today. And that's something that we often very well don't see. So yeah, that anger really was underscored on Monday when a judge blocked Trump's efforts to force asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while other cases proceeded. I mean, yeah, it's a practice immigration advocates called inhumane and illegal. Richard Seaborg of the United States District Court for Northern District of California ruled that the existing law did not give Trump the power to enforce the policy known as Migrant Protection Protocol. So yeah, I mean, he's protecting migrants. No way. It's very, very telling, in my opinion, when a president literally gets mad at the law. He's okay, this law is it's not right. It should be even more inhumane. It should be even more aggressive against these people. I think it's really very telling when we see someone like that or something like that. So yeah, the media targets the president's growing fury about the situation at the border, where the officials who he saw as insufficiently steely-minded, Kirstjen Nielsen, who resigned on Sunday, like she literally helped pull off the family separation policy. She literally helped pull that off. And what's the move? Oh, okay. No, she's not tough enough. Like, what could possibly be worse than the family separation policy? How could it be more incompetently handled? That's a more important thing. I mean, at least Ronna Vitalio. I mean, this is kind of awful to say. Obviously, the best case scenario would be no family separation at the border policy. But like maybe, hopefully, he'll be able to handle it more competently. Maybe he won't lose track of all the families. But I mean, that's probably too much to hope for on its face. I mean, absolutely ridiculous and disgraceful stuff. It's really worth sounding the alarm here. It's worth sounding the alarm because who knows what could happen if we see anything else like this. Like once these new tougher guys get in, like God knows what's going to be coming our way. So yeah, the longer term effect of the eruption of the Oval Office frustration is likely to be a burst of hardline policies that stand out even in an administration that's pursued an unprecedented series of executive actions and rule changes aimed at reducing legal and illegal immigrations into the U.S. In addition to urging Trump to revisit the idea of family separation, several of the president's closest immigration confidants have been pushing him to consider even harsher measures. Those include limits on those who can seek asylum, stronger action to close ports of entry along the border, an executive order to end birthright citizenship, so pretty much blatantly unconstitutional. So, like, if you want to do that, if you just literally want to do an executive order to end birthright citizenship, maybe you just want to, possibly make an executive order to end the right to bear the right to keep and bear arms. Like it's a very possible thing. Like, it's just that simple. I think it's like that. Think about it, that's where the head is at. Of these people it's very disturbing. So yeah, an administration that's famous for making chaos and its chaos and last-minute decision-making. It's unclear, though, on which of these policies the president might choose to move forward on, but by removing Nielsen, Vitalio, and perhaps others, Trump's getting rid of voices who sometimes caution him against taking taking actions that they believe to be illegal or unwise. So yeah, all that caution, screw that, it's going out the window. We are in illegal territory now. Like, the fact that, yeah, the people stopping him from doing something illegal are gone should be very, very chilling to everybody. All right. So the country of Israel right now is heading into a parliamentary election with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a political veteran of the Israeli right, facing stiff competition from a centrist rival, Benny Gantz, a former army general. So Netanyahu has overseen healthy economic growth, but charges bribery and fraud and breach of trust has loomed over his campaign. So the polls are closing there at 3 p.m. Eastern. He's probably going to be winning re-election because pretty much the only real issue that Israel cares about is security, and he has been more like pro-security than anybody else. But he's also, yeah, again, the question is, will the bribery charges cloud that? We don't know. Netanyahu has promised to, again, this is a big part worth highlighting here, begin annexing parts of the West Bank, which have allowed 4 decades of U.S. policy. He's emboldened by President Trump's support, and he knows that when he literally just gave him a free piece of land like that, he's like, yeah, why don't we just try annexing the West Bank? Like, he knows there's probably not going to be any better opportunity to do it right now, so if he gets reelected, it's like, what are you waiting for? Like, let's go. Let's freaking go, boy. Yeah, that's pretty much where his head is at, and it makes a lot of sense because, like, that's probably the best chance you're gonna have to pull this stuff off. So, yeah. And another move that would could help Netanyahu, Trump designated a powerful arm of Iran's military, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, as a foreign terrorist organization. It was the first time the U.S. had made such a declaration as part of another country's government. Netanyahu and Trump administration officials have said Iran is the greatest threat facing Israel. Yeah, and by the way, to win this election, literally Netanyahu has blatantly allied with racists, pretty much insane people want to see Palestine kind of like wiped off the face of the earth, and it's going to be very, very critical to see what happens here. And there's the shameful thing, like the sad thing is there's going to be little pushback because a lot of this is going to go through executive action, and the only way the U.S. can stop them is through some kind of democratic action in the House, or maybe even possibly in the Senate if they could muster up enough support from some of the more moderate people there. I mean, if you get it to condemn Saudi Arabia, it'd be tough, but I mean, if Israel tries to go annex the West Bank, that would be some stuff that really, in my opinion, requires some immediate action. All right, so yeah, thousands of demonstrators in Sudan are demanding the departure of the country's authoritarian ruler. Algeria's longtime leader was forced out. And in Libya, an aging general is promising to end the chaos that followed the ouster of Muammar al-Gaddafi in 2011. The uprisings across the Arab world 8 years ago are still reverberating across North Africa, but renewed unrest shows that the problems that led to earlier uprisings remain. Those include growing populations of disaffected young people, closed and corrupt economies, and the authoritarian governments unresponsive to the public. So, yeah, it's all not very good stuff, and the Arab Spring caused a lot of chaos. What we want to know is, like, it's very possible we could continue to see more trouble along that way. So it's definitely worth watching out for. So yeah, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt is going to be meeting with President Trump on the White House today. El-Sisi is seeking at least a tacit blessing for a referendum to change the Egyptian constitution so he can stay in power until at least 2034, in effect, president for life. So that is, it's a little chilling. And the interesting thing is, Trump going to give it to him? And I mean, I really don't know too much about the relationship that the U.S. has with Egypt, but what I do know is it would be very, very disturbing, at least, to see if see him actually push forward on that. But who knows? We'll have to look into that a little bit further. It's definitely a story to watch whether he's what moves he'll be taking in Egypt, because Egypt obviously pretty big, pretty powerful country. All right, so yeah, Kelly Caitlin is a silver medal cycling in the she won a silver medal in cycling in 2016 and a shot at gold in the 2020 games. She was a graduate student in computational mathematics at Stanford, setting up opportunities off the track. So yeah, she's a pretty smart girl. So that seemingly solid path made her downward smile all the more mystified to loved ones. She was found dead in her apartment last month. Her father, Dr. Mark Caitlin, blamed several factors for her suicide, including a concussion in January, saying, quote, "I wake up every 2 or 3 hours at night to go through all those permutations of what could have saved her life," she said, "I can't help but wonder what she would have done with her life." It's really sad, the fact that she had such a promising life ahead of her, possibly a gold medal Olympic win, and now that's all no more. It's very, very sad to think about. So, yeah, hopefully all the best, of course, to her family, and probably the cycling community is shook by this to a very large degree. All right, so, yeah. The Boeing 737 MAX jet that crashed twice in 5 months relied on decades-old systems and left pilots without some common safety features. It was state-of-the-art at the time, but that was 50 years ago, said a former engineer that helped design the MAX's cockpit. It's not a good airplane for your current environment, so Boeing right now is trying to really kind of revamp it and modernize their safety features. So we can see how they do there. So that is going to be interesting stuff to watch, but now it's time for quick hits, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we start with the Saudis. They will be including a top aide to Prince Mohammed bin Salman. 16 Saudis are going to be denied entry to the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced Monday the Trump administration has been criticized for playing down CIA findings that show Prince Mohammed played a role in the killing of Saudi dissident Jamal Khashoggi. In Mar-a-Lago, the Chinese woman who was arrested at President Trump's Florida resort had a hidden device to detect hidden cameras in hidden cameras in an $8,000 hotel room, a federal prosecutor said. So it raised questions. Was she working with some sort of spy agency? 14 people, including the actress Felicity Huffman, will plead guilty in the college admissions scandal. Prosecutors have said 50 people were charged in the case, which included faked test scores, phony athletic credentials, and big payments. In the 2020 election, Representative Eric Swalwell of California, can't keep a straight face, has joined the crowded field of Democratic presidential candidates. So an unusually powerful storm this week is in the Midwest.